morning, everyone, and welcome to Avon Valley Churches. It is Saturday, the 30th of July. I hope it's sunny where you are. It is where I am this morning. And it is my joy to introduce to you the lovely Rev Lynn Power. I met Lynn just a week ago, and we're going to explain a bit more about that quite soon. Lynn, so I went to see Gary and I was in Winchester the other day. I went to see Gary and Gary said, would you like to come and have tea with the Visitor Chaplains? And I said, oh, who are they? And I didn't even realise that they existed, but they do. They're Visitors Chaplains. They volunteer at the cathedral to support people who are possibly having a wobbly moment when they're in the cathedral, or just generally just there to ask questions to and be a friendly face and someone to chat to as well, but not for too long, I found out. So I am so delighted to welcome Lynn this morning. And Lynn, please tell everyone something about yourself.
Okay, so as you said, I am actually Reverend. I worked out, I can never remember how long I've been a priest for, but I was ordained in 2013 in Winchester Cathedral. So Winchester is a special place for me. And that's one of the joys actually of going there, that sometimes I just take a quiet moment and remember those times of ordination. I was chaplain at Trelaw's School for children with severe physical and mental handicaps for 5 years, which a place that I got halfway through my curacy. And I have to say that was my best job ever. Prior to that, I've taught religious studies for many, many years, and that was my passion as a subject. But getting this job as chaplain allowed me to combine my teaching experience and my new role as a priest within the Anglican Church. So I did that, recently then retired, and rather than take a parish, I became licensed with a permission to officiate, PTO, for the diocese. And it gives me the ability to fill the gaps, really. So I'm helping out mostly in the parish of the Resurrection in Alton, still with a pastoral responsibility and a focal responsibility for one of our little churches, Beach Church. Give it a shout out. It's a tin hut church in Beach. And then also helping out in the Northanger benefice, because their priest retired, 2 ladies part-time running it, and they really needed somebody to go into schools. My background has always, as I said, been teaching in schools, so I've been doing a lot of that. So that's probably me. Until then, how I came in to be actually a visitor chaplain is, as we discovered last week, and we went round and everybody said, how did they come into it? Was because a colleague of mine was a visitor chaplain, and he said, this is really interesting, this is really good, you should do it. But at the time I was working quite a lot and couldn't, so I decided to pursue it and came along and listened and chatted to people, and that's when I started my role. I'm quite young as a visitor chaplain. I'm not quite young, but I'm quite young as a visitor chaplain, only about 18 months into that work.
That's wonderful. And what so you don't have to be ordained, do you, to be a visitor chaplain?
No, we learned actually at that meeting that until not so long ago, you did have to be ordained. But perhaps after, maybe about 10 years ago, non-ordained people were encouraged to take part in it. And in fact, now I think I am very much in the minority as a priest doing that work.
So your normal day as a visitor chaplain at Winchester Cathedral, what does that entail?
Well, first of all, it entails catching the bus in Alton, which is a new discovery for me. I love now going on the bus because you lose your signal halfway through 4 marks and things, which is great. I get there, so there's usually 2 sessions, 10:30 to 1:30 and then 1:30 to 4:30. And you would sign up for one of those. I tend to do the whole day because I'm coming in from Alton. So what happens is when you arrive, I will report at the desk, say I'm here, and say hello to the guides who are welcoming. If you need me, I'll be around. Please do, swoop up anybody who needs maybe to have a chat. Then I will go to the vergers and let them know that I'm there so that they can get the technology all sorted out. Because one of the key roles of Visitor Chaplain is to say prayers on the hour. So at 11 o'clock, when I've chatted to everybody, said I'm here and everything, I'll clamber up into the very frightening pulpit, which has amazing feedback on it, so you don't know quite whether you're speaking correctly, and say the first very short prayer. Welcome everybody to the cathedral. Say it is our habit to pause on the hour and welcome them to join me in that. It's drilled into us that this must not be more than 2 or 3 minutes because you mustn't disrupt people from their tours. But those prayers can be anything. If it's a particular day, it might be that, it might be for the Ukraine. It's keeping your ears and eyes open. And there is a series of, there's a book in the vestry of prayers that you can use as well. So prayers on the hour punctuate what I do. And then the rest of the time, I just walk round and round, talk to people all the time. So, hello, are you enjoying your visit? Where are you from? And that sometimes just is a pleasant passing conversation. Sometimes will lead to a particular question, like the one you always get is, where is Jane Austen's tomb, as you know? And so we have to go and find that. Or sometimes it's much deeper. Sometimes it's, I haven't said the Lord's Prayer for years, because we usually end our prayer by saying the Lord's Prayer. It was so lovely, and they open up perhaps about their own faith journey. So we go on doing that, and then occasionally somebody will bring somebody to me and say, this lady's in distress, would you mind having a word with her? And then, or gentleman, and we find a quiet place, and it's just about listening, and the story will come out, and you then invariably will offer to pray, and if that's what's requested and desired, we do so. And then the person usually leaves. I think the beauty of cathedrals is that they are a place of anonymity, and you can come to the cathedral with something burning in your heart. You can offload it to somebody, but you're not going to see them the next Sunday morning and think, oh, are they still thinking about what I said, that and whatever, that sort of thing. So it allows you that moment in time to do that. And I think that's really, really important. And it's the same when people visit a monastery, perhaps, as well. So you might do that, or you get the really odd requests. Like once somebody came up to me and said, could you bless this young group's bread? I thought, yeah, well, okay. I'm not sure I've got the whole story here, but yes, bless anything really. And so they brought it in, and it wasn't a loaf of bread. It was the time of the winter market, and they had bought this beautiful crib on the winter market. I think they were South Korean. They were going back home and they wanted it blessed. And that gave us a wonderful opportunity to talk about their faith and everything as well. So it's keeping your eyes and ears open. It's walking and talking. Had quite a bit of experience in chaplaincy in all sorts of schools and in a hospice. And actually, when I was training for the ministry, the word that kept coming through my mind was that being a priest is about being available. And that's what being a chaplain in the cathedral is. You are available, and without strings attached or history attached or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting. And it's interesting, your story about blessing the crib, because being half Sicilian, it's very normal for things to be either blessed or, blessed with holy water. Mm-mm. Is that something you do in the cathedral?
Only that one time. It can be, and they do quite a bit of blessing. I'll tell you a story about blessing something at Trelaws. Alan Titmarsh is one of our visitor friends, and I can't remember his exact title, and he had designed this beautiful garden for the younger children, an internal safe play garden. And we wanted to make an occasion of its opening, and he was there, and they asked me to bless it. So I got some rosemary and some water, and we blessed the water, and we went around flicking everything. And then I turned to one of the children and said, have I forgotten anything? And she said, you haven't blessed Alan. And Alan stood there, and he just opened up, and I just flipped water on and gave him a blessing. And so I have blessed Alan Titmarsh, and I was very
wonderful.
And he was delightful about it. He is fantastic. He's a patron. He is absolutely fantastic as the support that he gives. Yes.
Oh, that's such a wonderful story. Thanks for sharing that. That's amazing.
Just about blessing. Blessing, I think, is important. I mean, when we moved into a house, we usually had our house blessed. For me, receiving a blessing in a church service or giving a blessing is special, because it's the moment of setting something aside. It's a moment of receiving God's blessing or giving God's blessing. It's an action that reminds you. So when the priest gives a blessing like that, I always cross myself, and I don't know why, because I'm not of that background, but it's like I receive that blessing that you've been given. So, you know, be it a loaf of bread, be it Alan Titmarsh, it's saying this person, this thing is set aside for this special purpose. And that's why the blessings are important.
Oh, that's thanks for sharing that as well, Lynn. Because some people can feel uncomfortable with the idea of a priest blessing, but as you say, it's not really about it's not just about having something done unto a situation, but it's actually the sharing of that special moment. Yeah, that's lovely. I wanted to say as well, so Lynn is identifiable because she wears her collar, but how do you identify the visitor chaplains at the cathedral?
So the visitor chaplains, I discovered quite latterly, there is a box within the vestry for general volunteers, and in that box there is a blue, I can't remember what it is. I say like it's a chunky lanyard, but it's this blue thing that crosses over with the Winchester College crest on it that the chaplain will wear, and distinguishes them from the other guides that wear a different colour. And there was some debate about, and I believe some also wear a gown of some sort. So I'm still discovering that, but it's definitely that thing round their neck that makes them identifiable. And you also wear a badge, which doesn't actually say visitor chaplain. Mine doesn't. It just says my name and Winchester Cathedral volunteer. But I guess the best way is that the other guys, who are totally brilliant and totally welcoming and interactive with the visitors, know you're there and will come and find you, and will guide people to you if that's what's necessary. And it's their friendly face and, oh, come with me, I've got someone you might like to talk to, which is really important.
And I was struck actually, because one of the, I can't remember how she framed it, but one of the ladies at the tea the other day said that they do sort of roaming outside chaplaincy as well. So it's not just necessarily in the building, but just outside as well. They might go and have a walk around and talk to people who might be outside.
Yes, I didn't know about that, but there is a chaplains in the cloisters and in the gardens around there, and we're encouraged, and you definitely will want to, because the cathedral is freezing cold during the winter period, and gets a bit, well, you want to see what's going on outside, to step outside the front of the cathedral. And again, you often can just engage people in conversation. It's an invitation to talk, and as an invitation, it's up to the people there to take it up. You know, I'm not sort of barging my way into anybody's conversations. And
if so, anyone can do this. You don't have to live in Winchester. There was another guy who lives in Southampton.
Oh, yes, he does. He comes on 2 buses, doesn't he? Anyone can do it, I believe, and I should have in front of me the double-sided sheet of paper which says what the qualities are and things. If you're not ordained or a licensed lay minister, or you have a bishop's permission to, or all those sorts of things, you would need a recommendation from your priest, so that they would know that you're a person of genuine standard, of genuine faith, and somebody who is suitable for the role. So that would probably be the start. Then usually, I guess, the conversation is with the existing cathedral chaplain. So now would be Gary. Prior to that, it was Nick Fenimore. So a conversation generally, and hopefully, mine took place in the cathedral, so you could get a sense of what was going on. And then you would be sent an application form, and as in everything else today, you'd have DBSs and safeguarding. You do get training, so you will get an introductory to the cathedral, basic training in that safeguarding, what the hopes of the cathedral are. And then we were discussing, and apparently has happened in the past, hopefully you'll get a mentor, at least for a day, from an existing visitor chaplain who would just be there with you and show you the ropes, really. So I think how it works.
Thank you so much for all of that information. I can honestly say it was so lovely to be with you guys the other afternoon. I don't mind sharing. Gary's trying to twist my arm as well, because he knows I've done chaplaincy before. But I would like to twist our viewers' arms. If anyone feels called to be a visitor chaplain at the cathedral, do let Gary know, because obviously we don't have a priest at the moment, but I'm sure Gary wouldn't mind you being in touch with him.
And doesn't have to be a massive commitment. So I do usually 2 days a month. People who live in Winchester may do more than that. There is a rota, and the rota is usually published enough so you can see where there are gaps in it, and you can say, oh, I could do that. I'll go across and do that. So it's not a huge issue to volunteer as a chaplain. I'd like to say really that the role is not just about visitors. It's actually, you're there for the rest of the volunteers as well that day, anybody in the cathedral that day. And it's just so important to walk around, to engage people, to smile, engage people in conversation, and just make people feel that they're loved, really. So, yeah, I sometimes joke, I come home after a whole day and my husband wants to talk about things, and I'll be nice to people all day. I really don't want to be nice to anybody else today. I just want to be quiet, okay? So, but it's just being nice to people. And then in addition to that, you spend a day in the cathedral or a morning in the cathedral. And I would thoroughly recommend that you tag on to a tour, or you take advantage of doing a crypt tour that day, or up the tower or something, and you can learn so much about the cathedral, so that when people ask you, because they often ask you questions about where's Bishop Sumner or something like that, you start to learn about it as well. The cathedral for me anyway is a special place. It's a place where people have worshipped for so many years. It has seen so much of our history, and to have the privilege of being in there for the day, it's just so exciting. I discover something new every single day. I ask a guide about it. They like to be asked about it as well. I then have to say I usually instantly forget all the details they've told me because they're so complex. Their information is phenomenal. Their knowledge is phenomenal. But just to be there is a privilege, to spend time in God's house for the day. Somebody described it actually as a bit like a retreat for the day, because you're stepping out of your normal perhaps work or your normal day-to-day, and you enter into this place and you do whatever comes to meet you on that day.
And I want to get a big up the chaplains, general chaplaincy right now. One of the things that is, I've got a very good friend as well who's ordained, who's a chaplain in the hospital, and I'm always blown away by how chaplaincy is a kind of spontaneous ministry. So you don't know what you're going to get on the day. No. So you can get someone who is at like a high point in their life or a massive low point, and within that you're showing kindness and love, but it's also having sensitivity as well, isn't it? So much sensitivity about where people are at, and I think it's chaplains tread this very fine balance between when that moment at which they can talk about Jesus, they can talk about God, they can talk about the Holy Spirit, and it always fascinates me so much about chaplaincy. It being in a place where you don't know what you're going to get. It's not like going to church when you know you're all there for the same purpose, to worship God on a Sunday morning. Okay, you might get different things out of it, but basically you're there for that same kind of hour. But with chaplaincy, it could be anything, and it could be something very serious as well, very serious that requires sort of other reporting. But I think it sounds amazing to say prayers in the cathedral from the pulpit. I mean, what a privilege is that?
Yeah, but let me give you a clue. Don't take your phone with you, like I did once, and had forgotten to turn it off and got halfway through the prayers. My phone went off, and so I was on the floor, fortunately, desperately kicking it in the corner, putting my phone my foot over the top, trying to mute it, and then just carrying on, almost looking around, saying, "Whose phone is going on?" As you pray. But there you go. Yeah, I remember at Trelaws, I was chaplain to about 180 pupils, 800 staff, and parents of different faiths and no faith, and you just are there to respond. And we had incredibly happy times, hilarious times. I mean, the most wonderful thing about Trelaws is you are working with people who are facing extreme challenges all the time, but it is about making the best of that day and making it the happiest that day. And there were really sad times as well, and exhausting times. I think actually, going back to Phyllis Tuckwell, the meetings each morning, the NDT meetings, would start off with, how can we, this person is here today, how can we make this day better for this person? And that might be by different medication, but it might just as likely be pushing the bed outside, getting somebody to give them a hand massage. And that's what chaplaincy is about. How in this meeting can I make this a positive experience? I had lots of arrow prayers, walk into a situation, perhaps I was having to tell a class, sadly, that somebody had died or something. How on earth am I going to explain this? And then just finding I couldn't do it, but somehow the communication came. And then, as you said, because some of the children that I helped were Muslim or Jewish, but there's always that wonderful time when you say, "Can I pray for you? Would you like me to pray for you?" And I have hardly had anybody, be they of no faith or of any particular faith, who said no. And they've always, they wanted to say, "Yes, please say a prayer for me." And that gives you your inroad. Sometimes people don't want to take it any further than that. But sometimes they'll come back and want to talk more about it. So it's being available, being there for what the people need and what God, perhaps, I believe those encounters are often really God-made, responding to it.
Completely agree.
Definitely not in my strength, but in some strength that comes from somewhere else up there, hopefully.
With the help of God.
Yes. Gosh, yes.
Yeah. It's been so lovely to chat to you, Lynn. And as I say, do get in touch with me or get in touch with Gary if you're interested in being a visitor chaplain. And yes, do look at it next time you're in the cathedral. If you haven't seen them, like I hadn't until Friday, do have a look out for them. They'll be wearing like a blue, it almost looks like a necktie, doesn't it?
Yeah, you've got to find out its proper name, haven't you?
Yeah, it has a special name. Both Lynn and I were told on Friday. But it's got a blue, it's a bright blue sort of necktie with a badge on. So do look out for them and do say hi to them.
Yes, please do. So yeah, maybe make the point of saying, is the visitor chaplain here today? Can you point me towards them? And even just go and say, oh, I heard all about you. Tell me what you've been doing today or something. It'd be really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and chaplains always have lots of stories in my experience, because they just meet so many people.
Some you can share and some you can't.
Yeah, exactly, yes. Oh, thank you so much, Lynn. It's been wonderful.
My pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you there.
Yes, I do.
It's a chaplain.
Do you know, one of these, this is a typical kind of interaction in my life when I know God's in things, because I said to myself, you know, Gary just said, oh, come along for the tea. I didn't think anything more about it, but do you know, completely warm to the idea. I thought, yes, if it's within distance when I'm deployed in a year's time, I would love to do that. I would definitely love it. So, yes, but we will see each other anyway, Lynn, because I will be in the cathedral at some point in time.
All right. I look forward to that. Thank you very much. Thank you for asking me.
Oh, you're so welcome. But thank you for the wonderful conversation and all the lovely memories.
Okay, bye-bye.
Wave to everyone, Lynn. We always do a wave.
I was told we shouldn't do that anymore, but there we go.